But vitamins and minerals are also very important. They are needed in small amounts for the functioning of the cell. This is the basic cell in the body. And the basic cell in the body can be looked upon like a power plant. Just like in a city you have a power plant, you have a central station from where you're getting all the power, all the energy. The body has various stations in it. The body has what is called the mitochondria, responsible for energy production. And it also has other organs that are needed for protein synthesis. So when you have deficit of micronutrients, what it does, it affects the functioning of the cell. It affects energy production, and it affects immune function. It affects the overall functioning of the cell. This slide here compares the foods that we eat today. It compares the micronutrient levels in the foods. The comparison is between micronutrient levels in these various foods here. The specific micronutrients are listed here. Comparison between their content. It's a content in about 100 grams of food done in the year 1996 versus 1985. Over that 11-year period, so much decline has occurred just in our basic products that are grown on the soil, whatever soil every country has. There is already deficit in the soil of specific minerals and vital nutrients such that they impact the foods on which they are grown. So anywhere from about 14 to 90% lowering over a period of 11 years in the content of these micronutrients. And what that says is taking food alone may not be a sufficient source to provide the micronutrients that the body needs. That it may be necessary to have supplementation because of such a fact. One thing that we know, for example, in South Africa, it has been recognized that the soil is relatively deficient in, for example, an important mineral called selenium compared to the soil in other countries. Knowing this fact that there is this deficit, such a fact can be corrected through, for example, considering selenium supplementation, such that that deficiency then doesn't impact people. Because of the soil deficiency, if we expect that the foods would be enriched in it, that's not exactly the case. Unless you grow it on selenium-rich soil, the food that's going to be produced on the native soil, natural soil, may have deficit in selenium. This is just to make the point that these deficiencies are in the blood. They are in the cells. They are not very easy to recognize or to feel. For example, when you have deficits of some of the common elements on the Earth's crust, like air, oxygen, water, food, you can recognize that because there are these, you'll feel these effects when you have a deficit. But when you have a micronutrient deficit, then there is no such symptom as such that you can grab on. One morning you wake up and say, oh, I think I have a vitamin deficiency. You will never know until you have a blood sample taken or you get tested. However, the effects of the deficiency over a long period of time are substantial because they can lead to immune deficiency and infectious disease. And this just illustrates the long-term impact of micronutrient deficiency. that when you have adequate levels of micronutrients, you have healthy cells. But when you have a deficit, it's at the cellular level that disease starts. Like we looked at earlier, the power plant now doesn't have the resources to function. So the power plant now becomes disease. Individual cells affect the organs of the body, and the organ affects the whole individual such that disease spreads in the body. And the most common effect is the failing of the immune system. Because as we said earlier, that nutrients are the raw materials for the immune system. They build the cells of the immune system. They're required for antibody production. And the first effect that will be felt is failure of the immune system when there is this nutritional deficiency. So, what we know from this knowledge is that poor nutrition and long-term vitamin deficiency can decrease immune function. It impairs immune functions. And that is what makes a person susceptible to all these bacterial and viral infections. If you have a very healthy immune system, it has been found that people who supplement with nutrients can build an immune system that's quite healthy. It will resist attack by these bacteria and viruses. Quite a few people I can relate experience over the years talking to people who supplement with nutrients like vitamin C. And they find that when the winter season comes, as other people are coming down with colds and flus, they are relatively resistant to that because they have supplemented themselves with a very essential nutrient of the body that is needed to build the immune system. Now this fact, what I have just said, that there can be vitamin and mineral deficiency, has been recognized by some of these health agencies. International health agencies. UNICEF, for example. A few years ago, it came out with this statement that these vitamin and mineral deficiencies affect a third of the world's population. And the consequence of that is it weakens minds, it weakens bodies, energies, and the economic prospect of nations. 2 billion people worldwide suffer from vitamin deficiency. Even though this fact has been acknowledged and recognized, there is very little that has been done by these international agencies to specifically counteract or address this issue. They have food programs and they have all kinds of programs to make food available. They're most of the time trying to fight hunger and starvation. But they don't necessarily address this widespread problem that is there of vitamin deficiency all over the world. Now, an important disease where nutrient deficiency can affect the immune system and lead to infection is AIDS. It's well recognized. We saw the numbers before. It's become a global health problem.